Vanderbilt's matchup with Charleston Southern has the potential to be a trap game.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, what's happening, everybody? Welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen. Like I said, we're free and available wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. In today's episode, we're going to get an early peek at Charleston Southern. What's the game plan? What does Vanderbilt need to do? How is this game set up? But first, I want to talk about there's some things being kicked around between Vanderbilt's past culture meeting up and colliding with their current culture. This game has potential to be a trap game, and it's something that I think that doubt creeps into every Vanderbilt fan's mind. But we're going to kind of pick through it and kind of discuss how it is, but then again, why it isn't. So here we go. This has the makings of a trap game, okay? And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, I thought we were past that. But given the recent history of Clark Lea with ETSU, given the last time we played this team, Charleston Southern, it was a 1-point game, surviving a 1-point game in the mid-2010s. I think people have a right to be kind of nervous, right? You lose to Georgia State. That's not ideal either when you're arguing about how everything is different. So I think what needs to happen, and I think what everyone's kind of nervous about, is that this game could very well, no matter what it is, this game could very well be one of those sleepwalking games where it's a tone setter, right? And it's a game that I think is easy to overlook because you have Virginia Tech next week. They were 1-11. I mean, there's a lot of factors here that I think could potentially come up and bite Vanderbilt. Now, will it happen? I don't think so. I'm not saying it's going to. I'm just saying that you should not overlook this game. I think what I'm saying is fair. I think what I'm saying is it's one of those games where if you overlook it, it could get real interesting real fast. Now, is Charleston Southern talented enough to hang with Vanderbilt? I don't think so. I really don't think so. 36.5-point favorites. I really, really don't think so. I think when you look at the factors of a trap game, this has those. Easy team, terrible record, FCS. It's an early evening kickoff, which means you have all day to kind of relax and think about it and get distracted and kind of, be in your whatever, reading your press clippings, listening to this show and having me hyping you up, which I think is a good thing. But it's one of those things where, like, you could get lost in, pardon the idiom here, but you could get lost in the sauce. So is it a trap game? I think it can be if you let it. I think given what Vanderbilt has dealt with in the past with these type of games, the thought is there that, okay, maybe, SEC versus abysmal FCS team, not going to be focused. I think the weather's going to be good, so that's a positive. But it just, all the factors involved, I think has to raise some antennas. Like, okay, well, and even in Clark Lea's mind, he's thinking, okay, well, this happened to me my very first game as Vanderbilt's coach. Now, the rosters are light years different, of course. I mean, it's a much, much better roster this time around. But that thought of, and I guarantee you, he is warning his team right now, every day this week, and the pregame speech. He'll have a couple of probably F-bombs like he did in the Netflix documentary. But you better believe that this team is getting educated on, hey, do not take this team lightly. Georgia State did it to you last year. Ball State gave you everything you wanted. Alcorn State really didn't do much, but ETSU first year, UConn that very same year, and I think UConn only won 1 or 2 games that year, made it tight. Hawaii last year or 2 years ago made it tight. I think they only won 2 games that year. All these teams have given Vanderbilt a run for their money from the lower level G5 or FCS, has stacked up, and it just puts that little seed of doubt in your mind. It really does. And I'm not trying to be negative. I don't want to be negative, but I think this is something that I'm just trying to raise awareness of. Hey, you can prevent this by doing these things, coming in focused, starting fast. You cover the spread emphatically, and it will put the thought behind you that, hey, this team really is for real. And that's kind of what you got to do. So you end that notion by taking care of business early, right? And that's got to be the message throughout the team, right? I'm not trying to set this thing up for like, CSU is going to, but I think it's more of a, hey, you better make sure you're focused in on what's happening here, or this thing could get interesting. I don't think CSU is going to win this game by any stretch of the imagination. But like, it could kind of throw you off a little bit with your focus, right? You come in, you get a lot of penalties. You're not in the right headspace. But like, if you treat it, and it's all in how you treat it today, the hay's in the barn for Monday, but for the rest of the week, how do you treat your preparation for this? Do you breeze through it and say, okay, we're looking forward to Virginia Tech, right? Let the fans do that. But it's like I said, the recipe is there, right? And like the weather, just because there's a tornado watch doesn't mean one's going to happen. It just means the conditions are right. All right. The conditions are right. But a lot of times you get a tornado watch and not much happens, right? So it's just saying that, hey, these conditions are favorable. And it's not something that I think, I'm in the thought process of, and this is the coach in me, I'm in the thought process of, don't take anybody lightly. Don't overestimate anyone. Because no matter what, like App State showed us that if you overlook them, they can take down a big dog like Michigan, right? Like in 2006. That's a scenario to where Michigan said, it's App State. Yeah, it's fine. Well, it's cool. We'll show up. We'll throw our jersey on the ground and we'll show up. See, this quote here is this, right? Coach Gabe Giardina. He said, my point is that it's going to be a great environment. We're excited to play against such a great opponent, but I expect our team not to logo stare and to be in awe over it, because at that point, we're surrendering points over things that we can control, right? And he's made a reference of, hey, he might show his team Hoosiers, because that famous scene where they go into Butler Fieldhouse and say, look, these goals are 10 feet too, and 10 feet also is what I mean. And they're coming in with that mindset, right? They're coming in with, hey, we're gonna play our butts off and we're gonna see what happens. So in order to avoid all that, like past culture, this is kind of where these two things clash, right? And you can't help but think it. Even though, do we really believe it or not? That's debatable. Some people probably still do. But if you don't believe it, and if you're like me and you don't believe it, we're going to talk about why I don't believe it anymore. Why that I'm saying this is a trap. I'm saying this could be a trap game, but I really don't think it will be. So like, there's the other side of the coin where it's like, okay, it's a trap game. You have all this recent past where these teams, these inferior teams gave you trouble or beat you. Like, where's that play into it? But honestly, it's a new culture. Clark Lea and Diego Pavia have ensured that. And we're going to tell you about it next. Did you know tomorrow, or today actually, as you're listening to this, is a holiday? Yes, that's right. FanDuel. It's a FanDuel holiday because August 26th, today, is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, calling your shot for your MVP, eyeing a long division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off. This is your moment. That's right. Long shot division winners. So take a flyer on the MVP race, right? So maybe Josh Allen. I don't know if that's a long shot, but I don't know if that's necessarily a flyer. But you can crown your champion in August, like the Eagles, maybe the Chiefs. Is there a dark horse candidate in there? I think it's going to be one of those two teams, honestly. Or division winner, dark horse, a long shot division winner. That is probably the Falcons are a long shot division winner. And I am the long division winner, just so you know. All right, so visit FanDuel app today and start planning your future bet nows. Your futures bet now. Because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. All right, thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. If you need a second listen, Locked On SEC, right down there. Chris Gordy is doing a fantastic job covering the entire conference. It is week one. We do play actual games this week. No more scrimmages, no more, worrying and living and dying over practice reports, over, who's going to win the third string quarterback battle. None of that, man. It is game week. Here we go. And this matchup, I said that it has potential to be a trap game. I said the conditions were right. But the question is this: do I really believe that? The answer is no. I don't believe that at all. Okay? I just wanted to make mention of it to be like, okay, it's there. But I personally don't really believe that. Okay? And I know I said it has the potential, and it still does. But do I think it'll actually happen? No, probably not. And that's why why that is I think Diego Pavia and Clark Lea starting off first of all, but I think Clark Lea, Diego Pavia, Eli Stowers, and the whole batch of captains that got elected this past week, I think they're going to ensure that it won't happen. Why is that? Well, let's see. I think you also had to have some examples from recent history that will show you why it won't. Okay? It'll show you why it won't, because you have that abysmal loss to Georgia State, which I think is in the back of everybody's mind. Hey, they showed that they still had that in their tank. They got overconfident. They had a really good first two games, 2 wins. They got overconfident, all that good stuff, right? And that happens. That can happen in college football. You can slip up, right? Or you can make things interesting. But I think Clark Lea has rebuilt this culture, or actually kind of since that ETSU loss in week one of his first year. I think he is slowly, because it just takes time when you take over a program that was in the shape that Vanderbilt was in when he took over. It takes time, first of all, but I think he's built a culture now that has gradually improved, except for that brief dip in 23, that it is improved to the point to where I think the focus is there. Obviously the talent acquisition is there. I think as I've been saying all off season, this is the best roster Vanderbilt's had in quite some time, maybe ever. And this roster is too good to have that kind of slip up. This roster is too good, packed with too many veteran leaders, for them not to come out and say, all right, we're going to treat this like it's Alabama. We're going to go out. We're going to run up however many points, and then we're going to build the depth. We're going to get the depth pieces in, right? Because that's what they want to do. And to do that, you have to be laser focused. And I think the culture of this team really is this. It's focused. I think the culture is, okay, we've got all that crap out of our system. We experienced that. We bounced back from that already, and we're not going to let it happen again, right? And that's the key to it. 36.5-point favorites, you could read your own press clippings. That's why I said the conditions are right. Because it's a 36.5-point spread. And it's easy to feel yourself a little bit and be like, okay, we're there. We're at 12-0, here we come, and then go out and struggle and get a struggle win, and your starters are deep into the fourth quarter when they really probably shouldn't be. Like the fourth quarter should be for like the walk-ons. Like late in the fourth quarter, you should be on Jeremy St. Hilaire as your quarterback, right? Getting some reps. Like you should be down the line in your depth chart. Like that's where you should be. And I think, honestly, I don't know if how far they'll get down into their depth chart, but I do think they're going to have a chance to get pretty far down into their depth chart because, to me, even though the recipe is there, even though the conditions are favorable, it's going to be like one of those tornado watches that doesn't really, like you might get some rain, but like it's going to miss you, right? And there's proverbial tornado warnings, or not warnings, but tornado watches everywhere where there's some upsets that are brewing, right? And it's going to drop down on that respective stadium. But I don't think First Bank Stadium is going to be that, right? Theoretically, you're going to open the south end zone, so there's excitement there. It's first game. It's an early evening game, so you're kind of there getting amped all day long. It's a good family game. The energy is going to be there. This is the last running of Diego Pavia's last dance, and it's just everything is there. Actually, for a special season as well. Like I say, this could be a trap game. It's potential, but also I think this game will either say, okay, this team has a lot to do, and this game will tell us a bunch of different things probably, but I think the main thing it's going to tell us is, okay, this team has a lot of work to do before Virginia Tech, or, okay, we feel really good. Now we just got to prepare for the road environment, and we got to prepare and really turn it on for Virginia Tech and South Carolina, because that's going to be a tough 2-game stretch in week 2 and week 3. So ultimately, I think honestly, it's just adding juice to the tank. It's adding gas to the tank, right? Like, hey, this is potential for a trap game. Oh, no, it isn't. It might, the first segment might have just been me, Michael Jordan in it, right? It just might have been my Michael Jordan, like fake juice kind of thing. I don't know. I think the potential's there, but I just don't really believe that, because I think what I've seen from this current culture since Jerry Kill, since Diego Pavia came in, I think it says something totally different. And it's there. And I think this is going to be a special season. I think these guys are going to lead. I think you're going to see a lot of what they have in store for what, for what's likely going to be a pretty special season for Vanderbilt football. So, trap game. Conditions are right. Let's recap. Conditions are right. You're reading your press clippings. You're on this documentary. You've got a lot of things going for you that can throw your focus. If you're not careful, if you're not focused, I don't know that an upset's good. At 36.5 points, I just don't know that with the talent gap that wide that they're going to, but it's never too early, never too soon for a trap game or trap game discussions. I don't know. I just don't think it's going to happen. Truthfully, I really don't. And it's one of those scenarios where, hey, what can we do, right? So it's the focus. It's got to be, okay, we got to get our minds right. What I wanted to do is reiterate the fact that this game means just as much as any other game, because you even struggle in this game. I think it sets you back a little bit, and that's where the red flags are. I think this game has the potential to set you back a little bit, even if you don't lose. Like I think it puts a weird spin on the season that you didn't really want or know was going to happen. That's what I'm warning against. I'm going to put a whole bow on this. That's what I'm warning against. And so it's a two-sided argument, and you're going to look. You're going to see, and you're going to look and see that, hey, this game really, the significance of it, it's just there. And hey, who knows? I think Vanderbilt's going to cover. That's my early prediction. But speaking of early predictions, we're going to get an early sneak peek at what Charleston Southern has to offer, what Vanderbilt needs to get out of this game. And we'll take an early peek of that before we really put a bow on all of this game plan stuff on Friday. But we're going to get an early peek at this and see what is happening and what's happening with Charleston Southern. Stay tuned. All right, but first, our friends at Rugiet. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra, Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pills, time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves into your tongue and kicks in fast, on average, in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. If traditional options haven't worked, Rugiet might be the answer. Over 150,000 men have already made the switch. I love that it's completely online. Rugiet connects you with board-certified doctor and ships your treatment discreetly to your door. You can even read real customer reviews on their site. It's helping a lot of people feel more confident and present in the moment. So head to Rugiet.com/LockedOnCollege and use code LockedOnCollege to get 15% off today. That's RUGIET.com/LockedOnCollege and use promo code LockedOnCollege for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, and a manufacturing review. Please review the Rugiet website for full safety information. All right, wrapping up the show, Locked On Vandy, talking about an early look at Charleston Southern. Is this a trap game? How ridiculous could that be? It's probably with the current culture of the team, it's probably way far in the rear view, but it's something that if you don't pay attention to it, it could sneak up and bite you. I don't know, right? It's a scenario to where you have to be careful, but the likelihood of it happening is not. It's kind of like, okay, there could be a tornado watch, but the conditions are right, but not really going to happen, right? So taking a look at Charleston Southern. I was about to say Colorado. All right. Charleston Southern's coming off a 1-11 season. Not much went right with injuries and really just the overall operation. This team was pretty bad last season at 1-11. And they're looking for a spark. Coach Gabe Giardina hired a new OC, Seth Strickland. So they're looking for an identity. They're looking to be more explosive offensively. They have a couple notable players, the quarterback Caden Clay and wide receiver Kevin Boone. I think they're going to spark up quite the connection there for the Charleston Southern Buccaneers. So this is a team that you don't know much about. So they could be dangerous and they could do some things through the passing game that I think could give them a chance to be squirrely. Defensively, they finished 5th in the OVC in total defense. They added 24 players through their recruiting class, and they're a team that's very, very hungry. They're a team that's tired of being 1-11. They're a team that's going to be really scrappy. So when you look at a team like that, there's a huge talent gap between Vanderbilt and Charleston Southern, right? We know that this talent gap is very, very wide. So really this game is not necessarily about Charleston Southern. It's about Vanderbilt. Like this is the game where Vanderbilt decides how focused they're going to be, and they decide just what this point total is going to be, what the output's going to be, how they're going to attack, all that good stuff. Vanderbilt's going to dictate this game one way or the other. They're going to sleepwalk into it and say, okay, we're going to toy around with you and then let you hang around. And I don't know that Colorado. I don't know about Colorado. I don't know that Charleston Southern can hang around or even have any sort of chance at winning this game. But, I think Vanderbilt does have a chance to prove that it's not focused. And, I think it leaves a lot to be desired heading into week 2. And it leaves you with a lot to do if you're going to go into Blacksburg. I think in order to be ready for Blacksburg and Columbia in back-to-back weeks, you have to be sharp. And if you're not, you miss that opportunity, and it could affect you down the road. So trap game, it could, like when I say trap game, I mean not necessarily losing this one, meaning it sets you up to lose the next two, which are hard enough games as it is. The difficulty of those two games is enough on its own. But what's the game plan here? How do you they have a returning quarterback. They have an offensive coordinator that does have an identity that wants to be explosive, that's going to implement some things to where they're going to try to push the ball downfield a little bit. They're going to try to sling it around. They're going to take advantage of trying to just keep you off balance. And that's something that when you're looking at it from a game plan perspective, it's pressure the quarterback. Don't let them do anything. Don't let them get passes off. Don't let them make comfortable pocket throws. Don't get conservative at all. This is one of those games where you have to, like I said, in order to avoid all the pitfalls that a game like this has, and that those pitfalls can affect you in your next game, to avoid all of that, obviously starting fast is a must. Offensively, that means scoring on your first possession and scoring often. That means covering the spread. Defensively, how do you help with that? You just don't let them move the ball. They can't move the ball on you. They're 36.5-point underdogs. They cannot move the ball on you. Do not let them score until at least the third string is in. That's how you set the tone. That's how you make a statement. That's how you say, this trap game nonsense is just that. That's how you do it. Special teams, you make a play. If the offense does, heaven forbid, have to punt, you go make a play. You go get the ball back. Or when they punt, Martell Height, you house one. Or make them only be able to kick off once. And that once, make them pay. Right? And it's like I said, the focus, it's all going to be determined, just an early look at the game plan, it's all going to be determined on what Vanderbilt decides they want to do, how they want to approach this game. If Clark Lea is there, and he is definitely in their ear because he's experienced this, he is definitely in their ear. I have no doubt about that. I have zero doubts about the fact that he is in their ear and he is talking to them about this being a potential trap game because it's happened to him. It happened to a lot of this group. Not an opening game FCS loss, but a loss against a team that only won 3 games in the Sun Belt. So it's all going to be how Vanderbilt decides to come out in this game. How do they approach it? How do they approach it offensively? Are they going to be trying some things? Are they going to be looking at different scenarios? Are they going to be putting different people in different positions? Well, I think you've got to build a lead first before you start doing any of that. I think you've got to show that, hey, what we have is going to be super sharp and we're going to execute at the highest level. Because that's how a victory on the road in Blacksburg happens. That's how you snap the streak against South Carolina. You be sharp in this first game. Okay, you cannot squander that opportunity. I can't say that enough. You cannot squander that opportunity. So offensively, you have to you have to establish the line of scrimmage. Of course, that's your identity. Control the clock because that's your main identity. But then add another layer to it and push the ball down the field vertically. Show that you have that with Trey Richardson, with Junior Sherrill, with even Trent Hudson. Show that you have a vertical passing attack. Eli Stowers can do it. He can line up there at the wide receiver position as a flex tight end and go up against somebody. He did in the bowl game against Georgia Tech. He's done it all year. He did it all year last year. No reason he can't do it. Martell Height going to get some offensive reps. Like, you have to work those things, right? Put it on film. Who cares? Let him see it. Let him prepare for it. Let him see it. Because Martell Height is that good. Trey Richardson, from all things that I'm hearing, is that good. Junior Sherrill, from all things that I'm hearing, well, he was that good last year. Just not consistent enough, right? The run game is going to be special. Defensively, swarm. Do not let him step up and make a comfortable throw in the pocket. Do not let him deliver a strike. You hit him. Don't let him follow through. Get pressure. Flush him. Make him throw it away. Disguise. Take the ball away. Swarm to the football, right? You squash all of this in the first quarter by exiting the first quarter 21 or 28-0. You squash all of this talk by doing that. And that's where it stands. Is it a trap game? Could be, but not likely. That's my stance on it. That's where I'm going to leave you with it. We'll see you back here next time. Locked On Vandy, anchor down, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. We'll see you back here next time. Peace.